Earlier this year, I reviewed a unique game that I'd come across as a child that mixed both the action and sim genres in a way that you wouldn't believe to be possible, had you not experienced it for yourself. Surprisingly, during the September Nintendo Direct, a remaster for the game was announced and shadow dropped on the same day. Actraiser Renaissance is not just a simple port of the original game, but rather a re-envisioning with a reworked story, more lore, more characters, additional features, and even a new map to complete once you have beaten the main game. Published by Square Enix and developed by Sonic Powered, the game was released across multiple platforms on September 23rd, 2021. For the purposes of this review, I played the game on the Nintendo Switch on normal difficulty. Like the original, Actraiser Renaissance places you into the role of the Master, a being that governs and directs the growth of the world. Due to a battle that occurred between the Master and the evil Lord Tanzra prior to the current events of the game, you have lost your power, and to reclaim it you need to restore people's faith in you. In order to complete this task, you must first clear a realm of monsters, and then guide the fledgling flock of the area in developing their village toward independence by further clearing out the remaining enemies and wielding your miracles to make the people's lives easier. What I liked about this version of the game is that in essence, the story beats of the original have been kept intact, although have been expanded with a new story that adds depth to the various locations. For example, your first realm is Fillmore, which has a hero named Philotus, who starts as a begrudging ally, but eventually works up his courage to become the people's saviour and your prophesized hero when his faith is needed the most. Before you can begin to resettle an area, you need to first descend from your heavenly throne and inhabit a statue of your likeness to clear out an action stage that culminates in a boss battle. Being that the Master is inhabiting a form that was once stone, his movement isn't completely fluid, which is to be expected. There is a little bit of heaviness to him, but I got used to it pretty quickly. Whilst you do have a health bar and a finite number of lives with which to complete a stage, unlike the original, this game is more forgiving in that there aren't any instant kill death spikes, and falling into a pit will cause you to respawn with some of your health missing, rather than costing you a life. Master also has a few different sword techniques that can be used to dispatch the various enemies, including a simple swipe, a downward strike, and a lunge that can help close the gap between you and the enemy. This time around, Master has also taken a page out of Alucard's book with a backdash, though it's not quite as elegant. As you progress through an act, you will find that destroying boulders or enemies will cause gems to drop. Collecting a set number of these will cause the Master's crystal gorge to fill, which can give him an advantage in battle. There are 5 levels of the gorge to reach, with the maximum giving Master the ability to recover from death instantly, without having to return to the last checkpoint, whilst also restoring some of his MP, as well as granting other bonuses like higher potency magic and stronger attack power. At the end of each act you will be facing off against a boss. The Act 1 stages are just a normal boss, with the Act 2 stages being one of the generals of Tandra's army. In the original game, some of these battles could be outright infuriating, especially where it was possible to fall off the stage to your death. Fortunately, this time around, all the battles have been reworked so that there is no risk of dying in this fashion. I found though, that on normal difficulty, these bosses were generally easier overall. I didn't really have a problem with any of them, which allowed me to focus on the story and other aspects of the game. In part, I believe this is due to the Crystal Gorge, as well as the new spells that are available to the Master, which I will go into in a little more detail later. Whilst each realm begins with a platforming stage, the main crux of the game is within the simulation aspect, where you're expected to take control of the Angel to guide the flock of humans in the development of their realm. The Angel comes equipped with a bow and arrow that can be used to dispatch enemies that spawn from the various monster layers scattered around your settlement. These arrows, instead of firing directly forward, will arc a little, which can make it easier to hit the flying adversaries. The Angel can also direct your miracles, which can be used to burn away bushes, quench hungry flames, and dry out marshlands, among other things. Rather than the miracles be grid-based, miracles in Renaissance uses a reticle to direct. There are 3 levels to each miracle, and using the higher level costs more MP, in addition to increasing the radius of the circle. I found this to be much more flexible when directing miracles against housing, in order to break down structures so that new, stronger ones could replace them in order to increase the population. At certain points in the story, when the people have garnered enough courage and built their population to a certain level, you can direct them to seal the monster layers. Unfortunately, you cannot choose the order in which to do these, as they are tied to the story. Also, where in the original they did this act themselves, in Renaissance, you will need to enter the lair as the master and take out the spawner, which gets progressively harder the further you get into the game, going from an idle mass of writhing vines to a sphere that moves around the screen, pushes you back, and also summons a plethora of difficult enemies, sometimes even bosses, that you have already fought. These sections are timed, and if you don't take out the spawner before the time elapses, then you need to try it again. I never had too much difficulty with these either, though there were a couple of times that I did need to attempt them twice. However, if you adapt your use of magic to the various situations, then you should be fine. Speaking of magic, it is gained through progression of the story and can be used in the action platforming sections of the game. Unlike the original, magic can be freely selected at any time by holding down the magic button, rather than having to choose just one spell at the start of the stage. Its use is tied to MP rather than a set number of scrolls, which means you have more flexibility in what and how many spells you cast throughout the different acts. These action platforming sections are not timed, so you can explore to your heart's content. In fact, you are encouraged to do so, with each act having hidden scrolls that you can find to permanently boost Master's MP pool. You can also return to any stage that you have previously completed at any time, and are required to do this to complete some of the quests that your flock gives you. A new addition to the town building simulation sections are the compulsory real-time strategy events that must be completed in order to advance the story. These take the form of a tower defense game where you can direct your hero as well as build palisades to obstruct the enemy's course. In the original game, I enjoyed that the simulation sections were mostly peaceful and calming and didn't require too much thought. The RTS sections in Renaissance, on the other hand, always gave me anxiety as different enemy types swarm your various structures, and sometimes the defeat condition involves not losing too many of these, or not having your hero die. At later stages in the game, you can summon up to 2 additional heroes for a total of 3 to help defend your settlement. The angel can also be used to direct your miracles to hinder or defeat the enemies, however he cannot use his bow and arrow, which seemed a little strange to me as there is no explanation as to why this is. In addition to palisades, prior to battle you can also opt to build and upgrade gatehouses, as well as physical and magical defense towers, but there is a limit to the number that you can construct, as well as where you can place them. Additionally, depending on how the roads of your settlement have been built, there is also a limit to where you can place palisades, which often puts you at an unfair disadvantage if you want to protect certain buildings, but can't because the game doesn't let you place anything near it. Completing story objectives and RTS battles will grant you scrolls that are hero specific that can be used to level them up so that they become more effective in future RTS battles. I found that even at a low level though, Taya is just a beast, although she herself did admit that she wasn't human. On the other hand, the master levels by gaining faith, which is acquired by completing quests given by worshippers. These can range from story progression based quests, RTS based quests, as well as optional side quests that pop up from time to time that aren't necessary to beat the game, but I recommend completing to round out the master's statistics and make later battles easier. In the simulation sections, the angel must collect materials produced by the various facilities in order to replenish your MP so that you may conduct miracles, as well as building materials so that you can construct and upgrade buildings. When there are monster dens around, killing monsters with the angel will give you MP, but when the lairs are all sealed, you'll need to wait on the facilities to produce more for you. But I guess this is no different to the waiting that needed to be done in the original game, so I don't have any complaints about it. Once you complete the game, an additional realm becomes unlocked that wasn't present in the original. Called Alcaleon, it is a vibrant realm that has been untouched by the hands of humans. As you progress through the story, you'll get to see all 6 of the heroes interacting with each other, which was a nice touch. This realm is also a lot bigger than the previous ones, so the RTS battles can sometimes become a little hectic, but it's nothing that a well-leveled team and strategized defense can't take care of. The only complaint I have about this realm is that there was a lot of build up to what the mysterious being directing the monsters was, with little payoff at the end, although I suppose it does leave the doors open for a sequel to be adapted, and if Actraiser 2 is remade with simulation aspects, I would be a very happy guy. One of the biggest sore spots for people seems to be the graphics, where character sprites have a fuzzy 3D look to them, reminiscent of the 3D that could be produced on the Super Famicom. For this reason, I feel that it was an aesthetic choice rather than one made to accommodate smartphones, which is a rumour that I often see circulated about this game. I mean, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered was also a game that was cross-ported, and the graphics were uniform across all systems, without the consoles suffering. I think sometimes people just like to shit on mobile gaming because of a constant string of games that generally tended to be cash grabs, although not all mobile games are designed in this fashion. But that's another story. The environments themselves are well detailed in the battle stages, and I also liked the glow-ups that each of the realms received in terms of their design in the simulation mode. Additionally, I liked that the worshippers of each realm were given a distinct look that matched the region that they were residing in, as opposed to them all looking the same like they did in the original. The drawings of each of the characters, the angel and the heroes, are all beautiful to look at, so I must commend Yamashita Shoin, who is credited as the main illustrator, for the beautiful artwork throughout. To my delight, Koshiro Yuzo returned to score the music. Not only did he redo the existing tracks, but also created new ones for each of the realms. In my previous review, I did mention that I'd have liked to see different music appearing in each realm, and my wish was answered. Even better is that each new track also has a SNES MIDI style version created for it. It's all just wonderful. My favourite track is called Boundless Evergreen, which was created for Marana. It reminds me of a snake charmer in a lush jungle playing by the shores of the Amazon River. The wind and woodblock instruments just suit the lush island jungle environment so well. Actraiser Renaissance was a nice surprise from Square Enix that no one was really expecting. Rebuilding the entire game from the ground up whilst keeping all the elements that made the original such a unique title is a feat that I feel should be commended. Whilst the additional RTS section could have had a little more depth to it, and people seem to have a huge problem with the graphics, I feel like it's a title that you should check out regardless of whether or not you've played the original. And who knows, maybe this is the start of the other Quintet games being remade. I'll be holding out for the day that Terra Enigma gets remastered, that's for sure. By the way, are there any games that you'd be exuberant to see receive a Shadow Drop remaster? Let me know in the comments. This has been Venoir with a review of Actraiser Renaissance for the Nintendo Switch. If you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe for more great miscellaneous content. Until next time, take care of yourselves and bye bye for now.